A woman visits a fortune teller who tells her, prepare yourself to be a widow. Your husband will die a violent and horrible death this year. Visibly shaken, the woman takes a few deep breaths. She steadies her voice and she asks, will I be a widow? I would like to thank the BPW for your support and patronage of women. For 21 years I was a military wife, and a decade more now I have been a widow. I do not mind. I will not be acquitted of being a military wife, and I cannot be acquitted of being a military widow. Any connection at all in service of this great nation perpetuates immense pride, and I consider all women connected to the military my sisters. Most have a strong foundation, mentally and emotionally, where they develop it. These women, for the most part, begin life like any other. When you marry into service, you have dreams of a future, which typically includes a career, children, a home. But soon you find yourself in ever-shifting locations where conditions are less than ideal. And the idea of making a home is like building a castle in the sand. What is so remarkable about these women? They keep adjusting, adapting, accommodating. They keep building and rebuilding. They never give up. They can't. The deal is this: the military is a small universe. You make the acquaintance of custom, etiquette, and regalia. You assume the traditions and issues that will apply to everyone, regardless of rank, who joins this team. But there are too few winners and far too many losers. And women are the unsung casualties of the military. Any sacrifices made might as well be written in a postcard for all the particulars that will never be acknowledged. You hope for the best, but plan for the worst. So why do some of us choose it? Becoming an army wife is never a choice. It is simply a way of life that requires strength, wisdom, and love. It is a lifetime commitment to people, confidence, and soldiers. Advocation, for family. Sometimes I change words. Leading by example, and too often stepping outside of your comfort zone. It is listening, learning, and inspiring with passion. You know that your life will be eventful. Life will be fast-paced. It will be an adventurous ride instead of a long, steady, safe one. As a woman in service, whether you are active duty or a dependent, you also get to be lonely, nervous, and you get to be scared a lot. You take the risk of losing it all. You take the risk of losing someone who very well may be the best person you've ever known. And you take the risk of becoming the best person you can possibly be. How do I know this? I've been around. No, I actually did not know this, and I don't know if anyone ever does, but my husband did. He knew with such certainty that it had to be right. I was unsure. You see, we married after only knowing each other 4 months, and we married young. Not uncommon with a lot of military couples, whether they are enlisted or officers. We were on Uncle Sam's schedule. But I looked to my husband after the magistrate said, you don't have to do this. And I saw the conviction in his eyes. I may not have known what love was, but I soon learned the meaning of pain, of loyalty, and faith. I understood piety, devotion, and sacrifice, but I want to tell you that I felt boredom, loneliness, abandoned, lust, and guilt. He left me alone more than his share of duty. There was the sting when I had no answer to give when I was asked, "What's your career?" I always had to be packing and unpacking, finding out how to get around, get directions, and looking for the better schools for my children, not the best. I had to buy the cheapest curtains at Walmart or Kmart because out of all the places you are stationed, there will never be one set of quarters that have the exact same window. I remember always having to rent or live in quarters. We never once owned our own home. Never. And I wanted to have an established garden when I finally did accept my role as housewife. Then I craved a beautiful home. I needed money just for the little things that most people take for granted. Like having 2 cars. We had one. Braces for our kids. Military only covers a small portion. And, we had to depend on relatives for extracurricular activities like band instruments or karate lessons. I remember aching for my friends and permanent friends, like the community. I wish I had a community. I wish that civilians did not think of me as the Harper Valley PTA mom because I had different ideas and I could wear my daughter's jeans because I worked out at the gym long before it was cool, and I attended events without my husband because he was never home, but not because we were fighting or divorced. I remember having to conceal my enthusiasm, my opinions, and my abilities so as not to intimidate any of the local people, women, for the 5 minutes we might be stationed there, or any senior Army wives who were not really open to the younger and new generation. This is the Army life for the Army wife. Loneliness, I cornered the market, and I still do. Now, some of you may know that after my husband was killed, a local reporter followed our story, and there were actually quite a few stories concerning my husband's mission in Vietnam because everybody wanted to know, what do you think about this? Was it worth it? There were also memorials up in D.C., and, Rennie was pretty well known, and he was working for America. Everybody served from all over. This local reporter was introduced to me by a general outside of our main post chapel, where I attended Mass every Sunday after my husband died. And the general asked me if I would help this young lady with some contacts that I may have had from Vietnam, because I still knew quite a few of the guys over there, having met them. And he told me that she was writing a series of articles and that she was planning a trip over there. Well, naturally, I complied because that's what I did. And her series of articles were a success. After a year or so, and a lot of mentoring, you see, she was sent on assignment shortly after because we had 9/11 and all of our men went to Iraq. As a local reporter, she eventually got to go over there. But she lost her job. She was fired because she was fraternizing with the soldiers. I didn't care. But she had actually become engaged to one, and she came home, not just engaged, but a little enraged. She was upset because she did not get support from the very same general who originally introduced us. Well, I comforted her like I would of any young girl, any young wife, which is when she asked me, she said, "Do you think it would be a good idea to write a book on sacrifice?" Well, I was hoping what I know now was false sincerity with so much grief. I was unable at the time to bring forward what I think are archaic rules in our system to the more modern present. And I thought that she would be able to help military wives and the dependents by just telling the story factually in a nonfiction book and explaining what your benefits weren't, pretty much. Now, after everything I have just told you, had any of you read that book, there's probably not one thing that you read that I have said. And I would definitely like people to know that I did not write the book. It is written in a non-fiction, it's written in a fiction fashion, even though it is called a non-fiction book. It hurt me very much because it hurt my children. It hurt my family. But even worse, within a year, it was made into a series on TV. I don't really want to talk about that. What I want to say is that my circumstances have been unusual, and nobody's life will be like mine, and my life will be like theirs. But I have something that I can do and that I know about, and that I know the Army has changed. It has changed in personnel, obviously. It's been many years. But it is also a new Army. The thing is, people don't change. Families don't change. And for better or worse, I still believe that you have to have faith in your spouse. I think you have to have devotion for them. I think the family comes first. I think that, your husband's desires and your desires should be first for each other. And I think that when that happens, it's just a reversal. If, you care for what he wants, he cares for what you want, and it's a beautiful motion. It works, and it's something I know that my husband felt. He put family first, and honestly, I think that he is the reason people thought so much of me. We were in perpetual motion. We acted for and with each other, and we were succeeding in something that only children fully intend to do, and that is live happily ever after. The only problem is that would require the second heartbeat. Ultimately, our sacrifice speaks loudest, though, to the soldiers. We will come back for you. I kind of know the creed, and I like to say it anyway, pretend I don't. I am an American soldier. I am a warrior and a member of a team. I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values. I will always place the mission first, and I will never leave a fallen comrade. And the other line I like to remember is from the Ranger Creed. Though I be the lone survivor, often I think I'm a ranger. The soldier is the guardian of our freedom. It is the American way of life, and I love the American soldier. The sacrifice that we made speaks even louder to the Vietnam vet. I knew nothing could ever drag my husband away from me. I had to push him out the door. I really did. And the day they came to my house to tell me, that was the first thing out of my mouth. Randy would never leave me. I know it made no sense. I vaguely remember hearing my